I see YouTube is active. Okay, so hello. This is the May 28th Chapter Leaders Meeting. Manling Zhang from Northern California is with us, as is Ehsan Balak from Pakistan, correct? Where
Yes.
they're enduring a heat wave of record proportions. And together we're going to solve both of those problems, the shortage of prosthetics around the world and the climate problem. So we have 1 hour in order to solve all the world's problems. Manlin, I wonder if you uh, have any updates for us as to how things are going with you and Anquan?
For sure. So first of all, NORCAL has been meeting a couple of times with the World Action Fund, and the updates from their side is we've sort of narrowed down the issues to not necessarily be incorrect measurements, but with a specific model of the Quawo forearm. So the long forearm apparently has had some fitting issues, and for that reason, we've modified the design a little bit to more fit the effective arm rather than the normal arm. And we are hoping to produce those and get those shipped out and fitted in the coming months. So that is the plan for the World Action Fund moving forward.
So that sounds like progress. You have been meeting late on Sunday nights, and I have not been joining you. And probably because I have not been joining them, you're actually working out the details. So the arrangements are good, yes?
Yes.
Great. That's really good news. We had a query on the hub today, and we can give you the link of someone who's saying, I'm trying to figure out how to get involved in the Uganda project. And I pointed them to Anquan, but we should also point you to that post. And here's a link to it right here. I'm going to put it in the hub, in the chat.
Right. Thank you for that.
Okay. We also had another problem, which I decided to punt to you guys. Someone is saying, I'm trying to figure out how to do the sizing, and I can't quite figure it out. We have, and my guess is that if we look at, I'll share my screen so you'll see what I'm talking about. There. Hello, Anquan. Nice to see you.
Hello. I joined the run meet.
Sarah, you need to allow me to share.
Okay.
Okay. So I was looking for the information on how to do sizing, and my first thought was to click on the devices catalog and go to enable device sizing. And oh, I see. This does include the virtual fitting approach from Peter Binkley and the enabled device sizing, etc. So this is the link that we want to give to that person. Nonetheless, the larger issue is that the hub, as we have often said, is a rat's nest of new and old content, including references to Enable Web Central, which is now apparently well and truly gone. It's been discontinued, we don't have access to it, and so on. So there is a project that we should think about, which is, and I'm sure you are thinking about it, between the Enabling the Future website and the hub and the changes in leadership and the development of the new international layer that you're working on. We should really think about a whole re-architecting and certainly removing of misleading information like references to Enable Web Central.
Yeah. Manlin and I were
Exactly.
talking about it.
Mhm.
And then, coupled with that, and Manlin and I are meeting later tonight, and we'll get back to you with what our thoughts are.
Okay.
I looked through the Enable France website. I've talked to Everton from formerly Enable Brazil. And, the other question is, what do we want the central layer of Enable to be outside of the international component?
Yeah.
If you look at how France and Brazil are, it is very centralized and very, very well organized. Right now, we're relying on this kind of diffuse decentralized model. So at the bare minimum, if you're looking at the website as it stands now, if you're looking for a hand, it's not totally obvious how to get that. And if you're looking to provide a hand, it's not totally obvious how you would do that.
Right.
And so that's the first issue. So the second issue is, as you are redesigning a website with all of the current things that are enabling the future and the Enable Forum offer, enabling the future is a very good PR website to say what Enable is. But there's no functional aspect to that site, like outside of looking at like hands. The forum is very functional, but it doesn't lead you to do anything in specific. Like you can't, like, I feel like if you're not tech savvy, I'm not sure how you would figure out how to get a hand if you needed one. And if you're semi tech savvy, I'm not sure how you would offer a hand. And so a lot of the people who reach out to NorCal Enable, it's like, I'd like to help. How do we do that? And I think it's very telling they're coming to us and not going to the main site to figure out how to do that. So, so we have to kind of figure that part out. And then we have to also, like, so when you're designing a website, you have to decide, well, are we going to be more like Enable France? Not just their website, but the structure of it, or are we going to be our own thing? And so that's kind of a lot of different asks. And Madeline and I were going to meet about it yesterday, and we got distracted by other topics, but we're going to meet about it tonight and kind of discuss amongst ourselves what a vision might look like. And then we'd love to share it with all of you and then get feedback. But the structure of the website will completely depend on what we decide Enable is, right? So for example, a perfect example is the way Enable France is currently structured. So, and I'm going to completely get this wrong, so Madeline, please correct me, because I haven't talked to our gentleman in Enable France, and it's been like a month or something. But the concept is, you go onto the website, you register for a limb, that you need a limb or you want to offer a limb. Let's say you need a limb, and you go on there, and the head of Enable France will look at it, and he'll say, okay, I'm going to send a medical professional to your house who lives close to you. That person will then do measurements, and then they'll assign a team of like 3 or 4 people that are either close to you or not, and then they'll kind of figure out, and then they'll customize it to your needs. And just like with any organization, there are people who are a lot more active and a lot less active. So I think he tries to match people who are very experienced with maybe people who aren't. I haven't asked him how he chooses them. And then once it's constructed, it's then that medical professional then goes back out to that person to make sure it fits properly. So this is kind of this very soup to nuts thing from the beginning to end, that they have full control over that. And I said, well, what do you do as far as advertising? And he said they don't. What happens is somebody, just like with Enable in the US here, somebody will find out about it, and then they'll publish a news story, and all of a sudden they'll get 30 new referrals, right? And they have no government oversight or support or anything like that. And Enable Brazil is different. It has a similar central nature to it, where somebody will assign cases. Interestingly, in Brazil, you've told me this before, John, they require actually, for any prosthetic to be used, they have to have a medical professional actually involved doing the prescription. So what they do is, he was telling me socialized healthcare. So if you have an amputee patient, they will actually be allowed to get a professional prosthetic, but it may be like 3 to 4 years or 2 to 3 years or some odd number, because it's expensive and it takes a while, and they have a backlog. So the hospital will refer the patient to Enable. It's very interesting. So it's not government run or anything. It's just this kind of grassroots thing. The hospital will refer to Enable. Enable will then say, okay, do you have, they call themselves something else now, but they'll say, do you have they'll look to see if there's a medical professional volunteer in your area. If there is not, they will try to enlist somebody at the hospital where you live to become a volunteer.
Wow.
And if they can't do that, then they'll do it all over Zoom. They'll make measurements, and then they'll, of course, same kind of thing as France. They'll kind of get volunteers to build and construct and then send it to you. And it's all with the same kind of stuff we do here. It's nothing special. Phoenix Unlimited, all the same stuff that's currently on the Enable website. So, both of those countries have a scale issue that the US doesn't have. Like France is, a little bit larger than California, right? So maybe a little easier to tie everybody together. And maybe we don't want that structure. And that's the thing we have to talk about. Maybe we don't want it to be fully centralized. But I think as we're looking at the website, we have to decide before we completely, we can create some kind of skeleton, but before we fully restructure, we have to decide what is Enable. Is Enable something super centralized like Enable France or Brazil? Or do we like this decentralized nature of Enable? In which case, even if we did that, would it make sense instead of getting in touch with volunteers, we help them get in touch with their proper chapter and their location? But again, if we did that, we'd have to kind of follow through on Sarah's work, which is making sure those chapters are active. And which then begs the question, because right now we're having to do a lot of catch up, right? So Madeline and I were talking about it, like the point of entry to become a chapter is not very high, right? You literally have to have the desire and a Facebook website and like some certifications, I would imagine. I don't know, my kids took care of all of that. I don't really know how you become a chapter, but my kids took care of all that. But it didn't sound like very high. So even in NorCal area, I feel like the only truly active chapter is ours. And one of our ladies who we're meeting with next week, or later this week, right, Madeline? Daniela, I think it's sometime later this week. And then on Friday, she was trying to look for a chapter in Georgia. There's maybe one active chapter, if at all, but there were like 3 or 4 listed. So the other question we have to ask is as we're creating a brand new website, this is a perfect opportunity to decide what is a chapter. Yeah. Is a chapter just somebody who says they're a chapter? Or is a chapter somebody who has to have deliverables every year, even just one limb? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like, and then it's not a matter of, hey, please tell us you still exist. It could be, hey, we love you. I love the good work you're doing, but if you don't have like at least one limb a year or whatever the thing is, maybe you're not really an Enable chapter. Because the problem is you've attached your name to them. That's right. You are now an Enable chapter. And if you get this kind of like a very diffuse kind of quality, like on the one hand, you have NorCal Enable who's shipping 100 limbs a year. On the other hand, you have this one group who shipped 1 limb every 3 years, and they kind of have just some people sometimes interacting, sometimes not. And then they may be producing a lot of things, but we have no idea about it. So we have no objection to people calling themselves anything else other than Enable. I agree. But then the question, if you call yourself Enable, does that mean something? Yeah. And is there a and again, nobody's asking for fees or anything like that, but the question is, does it mean there's a minimum point of entry and then a point of entry and then a minimum certification to stay alive as a chapter? And in which case, if you do those things, we don't have to go hunt you down. We don't have to, because that's what's happening right now. I think poor Sarah, and I think you had another intern at some point, young Asian lady, who was trying to look through Instagram posts to see if they even exist. And so now we're doing the work, the very hard work of trying to figure this out. Whereas what we should be doing instead is we should say our minimum point of entry is just like Jonathan's certification system and the badges. But instead of hunting for badges, we're literally just saying, like, as a chapter, what have you done in the community? And it may not be arms, it may be some other thing, right? But what have you done for your community? And that could help us better say, okay, when we recommend a group, we're recommending a real group. So for example, if let's say we don't do what France does, we don't have like me or Manlin or John Scholl. Right now, if a request comes in and you find 5 people who are interested, instead what we do is they come in and I say, I see you live in Kentucky. We have a great Kentucky chapter who takes care of the entire state. And then that's still our name attached to it, but we know they do quality work. And I can say, I can bet my bank on it. Right now, I'm the medical director for Palo Alto Medical Foundation and for cardiology. And somebody will say, who's a good cardiologist in the Bay Area? And I say, pick any one of these people. I would trust them with my life. And I can say that I've met every single one. I know who everybody is. Sure. But we vouch for their quality because we don't just hire you if you're an idiot. And I think Enable, I don't want idiot's a strong word, but like Manlin knows I use strong trigger language, but like, but I guess I would say is, should we really be saying everybody and their grandmother and grandson can be an Enable, or should we say, yes, you can be Enable, but you still need to give me something that shows that you're an active participant And that way we can continue to recommend you, if that makes sense. And so I've been thinking about this, Man and I have been thinking about it for a little bit. And I think if we want to restructure Enable, we don't have to be Enable France. We don't have to be Enable Brazil, or Enable anything. But I think we should think about, if we want it to be stop being so loose and represent something a little bit more, then I think this first point of entry is when we're making the website, that will help us figure that out. That will help us kind of what the website should look like. What will be dictated upon what we want Enable to be. Jonathan and everybody else on the call, you guys have been enabled probably far longer than I have. Jonathan, what do you think? What do you think about that kind of structure?
Yeah, I think it's something that's plenty overdue.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I have a few comments. First of all, I'm just really grateful and pleased that you're engaging all of the issues. These are all genuine, knotty problems. You're the right guy to, fresh look and fresh resources to try to deal with them. The answers are not obvious, but I heard what you're thinking about, and I can see that you've gotten up to speed, and that's really good news. It takes a while. Just a few thoughts.
Yes,
from what
please.
you said.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is just input.
Mm-hmm.
Can share my thoughts, and you can ignore them as you fit.
Mm-hmm.
One possibility is that first of all, one possibility is that there should be an Enable North America or an Enable United States, as there is an Enable France, and so we divide and conquer that way.
Sure.
And the general Enable, like the General Alcoholics Anonymous, is a very lightweight, loosely organized umbrella for a great deal of diversity, under which you might have Enable United States or Enable Western United States or Enable California. I don't know. But you might say, look, how can we divide this up into regions?
Yeah.
Where each region will have a gold star Enable chapter and leader, analogous to what has emerged in some countries.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
It's just a possibility, but it sounds reasonable. The other thing I wanted to mention is, one of the really promising things about the Ancon Manlin era of Enable is the possibility that we really piggyback on First Robotics, which is a much more sophisticated organization, has a great deal of structure, and that might inform the way we reshape Enable, nationally or internationally. The other thought,
I agree. Keep going. No, keep talking.
Okay, the other thought that came to mind is that if we have we call them regions or domains or something, Enable Western United States, for example, that we could recommend that they clone the Enable France website, which I think is quite good, or we could even host regional versions of that. I have the impression that Enable France is a well-designed website that does quite a good job of communicating about Enable, and it also has this administrative backend. Whether we want to standardize on their administrative backend or not is a separate question. But I now, I do understand that it's now available in English and French, and that suggests to me that it's internationalizable. And so that raises the possibility that we could pretty efficiently, using AI tools, produce other language versions and even host them. These are just ideas towards how to me, what Enable has tried to do is to make it easy for people to do what they're trying to do.
Right.
Not to dictate how they do it, but just to provide utilities that make it possible. The downside of that is that after 10 years, there's just a bunch of stuff and it's a mess. But it's still an interesting
Yeah.
principle. And so thinking about what are the essential utilities we can make available, and then you use those utilities to establish well-run subunits
Right.
is a possible way to go. And those are just the reactions I have to your recitation, which sounded very well informed. I appreciate it.
So what I like about what you said, and I've had some thoughts about that. The question of, when you have Enable France, and I was just thinking, well, France is literally just slightly larger than California, than maybe a little bit of Nevada.
Yeah.
That was a lot of me taking a map and just overlying, because I actually had no idea. And I was just thinking, should it be something like Enable Georgia, Enable Kentucky, Enable Northeast, whatever it is, structures like that? And what you would do, one option is you would find the actual most active chapters and say, would you like to be Enable Georgia?
That's right.
Would you like to be, I'm going to be a little bit biased, but I would say the best chapter in Northern California right now is NorCal Enable, but that's a little bit biased. And I would have to look at the output of the other. I would have to look at the output of the other group. So that may actually not be true. And you would say, would you want to, and we could choose a square footage area or square mileage area of like maybe 3 states to represent 1 or something like that. And that might be an okay way to proceed. I would still kind of want it all under the general Enable umbrella, rather than 50 different websites of 50 different states. I would really want it all to be under the same umbrella, but they could have a similar structure where if you sign up and you go to the straight, I mean, there's a lot of, honestly, John, that's getting into the weeds. So we probably don't have to decide exactly how that worked right now. It could be like you go to the general website and it pushes you out, or it could be what state do you live in and it takes you to that subsection of the website. And they can help you that way. But there's a lot of different ways you can do it. But I want to make it like, if you decide you don't want to be a chapter and you still want to help people, you can still do that. All the resources are there. Like for the last 3-4 years, NorCal Enable was not a chapter. We just made hands for people.
Just doing it.
Yeah, we were just doing it as a volunteer basis. There was we were just looking for people who needed stuff and we just volunteered. So you don't have to be a chapter to do that. That's, it's a free country, literally. Like anybody can do whatever they want. But if we attach our name to you, then it should be some kind of, I don't want to say guarantee, but like, this is the Enable, like this is what we expect if you're a chapter.
Well, we have had a code of conduct. In fact, we have a code of conduct. And, like a lot of other things, it's quite underspecified. But we do have certain things that we demand of our chapters or that we stipulate for our chapters. And it's entirely appropriate to take that seriously and to revise them.
All right, so Jenna and Jonathan have posted the Make Good design, which looks great. I just clicked on the website. Lots to glean from how Make Good organizes their effort. They have US maps showing local makers' need requests, and admin team, dedicated organization, why email update my build status, like responses and hours. Also, the finals is reviewed before certificate issue. Also, they issue a text document. Wow. That's really great, Jenna.
And Juan, it's Tom. I'm using my wife's account.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Thank you for the confusion.
I'm here to help, and I have information for you for our Sunday call. We can talk about it then.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. Tom has been very helpful for our efforts in Uganda.
You bet.
Yeah.
I had an exchange, thanks to Tom, with the Make Good people. Very lightweight exchange, but suffice it to say that they know all about us and they're big fans of Enable. And yet, clearly, they have their act is now more together than ours. So I think it's great to explore those parallels and synergies.
Jonathan, do you work with Make Good, or you just like their website?
I found their thing a couple of weeks ago, and I recommended it on the hub, and then
Mhm.
Tom and a couple others have kind of adhered to it a lot more than I have. But
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
they're very centralized. They have requests and volunteers populated onto the same map.
Mhm.
Do
You
they
know,
have
they
a,
have a. Go ahead,
sorry, I
sorry.
was just, do they have a full-time staff?
I'm not
Is
sure.
that, okay.
That's a good question. How do
I
they
think there's a
manage?
couple. The founder, Noam, I've talked with him, John and Anquan, and that's where he's really interested in partnering and trying to swap grants back and forth. But being a 501c3, well, funny thing, Jan and I used to work at the IRS for the department that ran the charities. And
Oh, is
so
that right?
I think he has it as a full-time job because you can draw a salary from a nonprofit,
Sure.
as long as it's not too crazy.
Mhm.
But I think he does have a dedicated staff because I get answers within, and like today, my final build on my second one was done within an hour. I think that really helps them to have a couple of people that are not multitasking.
Right.
Yeah. I
Well,
mean, go ahead.
I'm very keen on exploring the relationship. I think that's great.
You should do that. What do you mean that they're keen on exploring the relationship? That you've talked to them and they say they're interested in doing something more with e-NABLE, or what do you mean
Yeah,
by that?
yes, they'd like to get the word out for one thing, be kind of a voice for us about what we provide. At the
Mhm.
same time, we could do the same for them. This
Yeah. It's like
yeah,
synergistic.
exactly. And then they have access to funds that they could put our way. At the same time, they're looking for some cross pollination.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Eventually, what they plan to do is provide the kits, which is about 12 rolls of filament and maybe $20 in parts to each maker for each request. But they're
Mhm.
not quite there yet.
Mhm. So Tom, you bring up a point, that the other thing, and we have to kind of think about this a little bit. They have a staff that paid. Most of us are volunteers. A couple people are paid a nice stipend or a stipend to help. And this is a future question, but as we get a more sophisticated website, as we get something where we're actually having people coordinate between different regions of the United States, which is quite large, that is something we will also have to think about. Like, do we
Mhm.
have people that we actually pay for this work outside of the couple people we're paying now? And the answer is probably going to be yes. But if we do that, then we're definitely going to have better sources of funding than the impromptu, hey, I love your organization, here's $7,500, right? It has to be a little bit for sustainability. And right now, I think we're relying on the kindness of strangers to occasionally donate to us without us asking for the money. But if we're going to reach the level of even make good, I mean, I think it was a great question that you asked, Sarah. Like, do they have full-time staff? And because how else could you do that, right? All of
Right.
us have jobs or have our students somewhere, and
Right.
most of my emails get answered either between patients or at midnight. So,
Yeah.
so I don't have the bandwidth to answer emails within hours, but somebody else would if we paid them, perhaps part
Right.
time. So those are kind of things that I think we should address. And I thank you for Tom and Jonathan for bringing Make Good. This is as people are talking, this is not this exact website, but something along these lines. Something where you go onto the website. It's actually got a very similar makeup to e-NABLE France, to be honest with you. And it's very obvious. There's a whole button to click onto the forum. There's a button to like how you do a build, request advice. It's clean. The very first picture shows you exactly what this is for. There is a child there who's a special needs child. Very cute picture. And you keep thinking, why wouldn't I not want to give to this little girl? So I mean, and then there's a video. I haven't clicked on it, but I'm assuming it's somebody who's talking about how amazing it is to be a volunteer on our website. So it's
Mhm.
exactly what you would expect. And I think e-NABLE needs to have this. So let me sit down with Madeline and I were going to talk about yesterday, but we got distracted. So we're going to talk about it today about some of the things that we think about, and then we'd love to share it with all of you, the people
Great.
who have a similar concept of where we should go with this, and then timelines and things like that.
Terrific.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited. Thank you, Jonathan and Tom, for sharing this. And then as far as I want to address everything you've said, John. So you were talking about regional, and there's different ways that could work. We could one of the easier ways or simpler ways is we could try to figure out the more active, obvious active channels and say, do you want to be Enable Georgia? Do you want to be Enable Texas or something? And then going down the line, we would have to figure out how to, Sarah, one of the problems I've heard you present to us here with the chapter leads meetings was like, they don't answer their emails, even if you say you're going to be gone in a week, they barely just answer emails. And I think if we decide that we're going to go through this new format, we send a general email every couple of weeks to remind people, hey, we're changing to this new format. We love you very much. If you're a very active chapter, what we would love is instead of being your own chapter, then maybe you merge with 2 other chapters in your area and you guys will represent the entire state of Nebraska. And I'm trying to name different states for equity here. So,
and by the way, I'm not convinced that there are 50 worthy anchors in existence. So it may not.
And you're probably right. And that's okay. Because then what we would do is like, you represent the tri-state area, right?
That's right.
Because there may not be a need for one Enable chapter in every single state.
That's right.
I don't know. We'll have to see. I think there's a lot of different ways you can think of it, right? If you think of Enable France, they are literally one chapter that represents the entirety of that country, right?
Right.
And so that may be that chapter is responsible for knowing all the makers in their area, right? In their tri-state area. So
agreed.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to say. And then we sent out an email and said, this is going to be the point of entry for chapters going forward. And if you want to be part of the change, email us back, show us what you've done. And that's a very different kind of email than saying, do you still exist?
Agreed.
You know, and then that way too, like, you know, if whenever we decide to implement, if we give them a 4-month, 6-month run-in period, they can say something. You can say, okay, you are no longer a chapter, but if you want to come join back the fold, we'd love to have you. Something like that. Something really gracious and professional. Oh, you're building your second build. Thank you, Tom. Oh, that's very cute.
Whoa, nice.
I like it. It's even got a cell phone. It's got a cell phone caddy and everything.
Very important, you know, modern kid on the go.
I know, and a cup holder.
gotta have the sippy cup with the tablet. Yes.
You know,
what did you make the tires out of? What is that? Is that TPU?
TPU 95, and the rims, everything else is PETG.
I see. That's very cute. Go ahead, John. You were going to say something.
Well, it's a beautiful thing, and it's a lot of filament, and we have members who are saying, I can't find a recipient, but they might not want to take something on this big. But I could imagine, since the parts I imagine are all sort of standard size, that group could take on different parts and then another group assembles. So potentially, you know, we've been trying to get American enablers to make other devices. Helping them to collaborate on one of these might be an interesting way of giving them an opportunity to use their 3D printers for good, and also giving them an opportunity to see if they can work with others in their region.
John, I agree. It took me 6 days running 4 printers, 24 hours.
It's a lot.
It takes a while. And on that website with the picture of the United States, they have questions when you got to get certified to make these. You can't just start making them. You have to fill out a little form, and on there it explains, hey, are you interested in collaborating with others to make these devices, because they are kind of intensive. So you're absolutely right that those opportunities are there.
Cool.
I mean, Jonathan has a great badging system that's probably analogous to your certification. So I think like mandating that, I think maybe almost always should have been the case. I don't know the logic behind not mandating that, but yeah, real quick, just because we're still on the subject of websites, there was like this project a couple of years back to remake the Enable website that was funded and went part of the way. I was wondering kind of what happened to that project, and also if there's an existing like GitHub repo that we could go through.
I don't know the answer to that, but I'm pretty confident that starting with Enable France's current website would be better than trying to resurrect our half-developed website from 4 or 5 years ago.
I pretty much agree on that front.
So this is my goal. What we're going to do, Madeline and I will chat, and then by the next chapter meetings, we'll have a vision, but we'll probably send out to key stakeholders like yourself, John, and Jonathan and Sarah, like what our initial thoughts are so that you guys can pick it apart a little bit. And then I would like to, this is my timeline, and I don't know what your days look like, Madeline, but we should probably release the beginnings of vision with the next chapter leads meeting of what we think things should look like. And then people can, again, pick that apart again a little bit. And then once we have that, we can have a true timeline of events.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, I thought somebody said something.
Looks like someone has a question.
Go ahead, Romeo Reynolds.
Oh, hi, everyone.
Hello.
Romeo from the Atlanta chapter.
Hey, hello.
Yeah, sorry.
How are you?
Hey, very good. I just wanted to share a couple of things we're doing at our chapter with everyone.
Wonderful.
Please.
I'm just kind of pressed for time and I have to go soon.
Oh, please, yeah.
But we've collaborated since I built the NIOP, the transhumeral device.
Yes.
And John was really helpful with giving me some tips to get that completed. So thank you, John. I met up with Daniela and we talked to a prosthetics doctor in Mexico. And he actually has a training program for making prosthetics. And he invited us there to train with him to how to make lower and upper limbs. Wow. And he was really impressed by the fact that we are 3D printing prosthetics. So we're planning on going there in August. I'm sorry, I have spasms in my neck. I have a slip disc. But yeah, we're planning to go there for about 3 weeks to learn and also share in prosthetics. He sent us some of his cases that he has there, about 9 cases in total for different types of amputations. So we're working right now on making Phoenix hands and unlimited hands to bring with us to share.
Fantastic, Romeo.
Romeo, can I ask you a question? The person you're developing Niafirm for, is that person local to you?
No, they're in Mexico, in Cancun.
Okay.
And where are you, Romeo?
He's in Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
Got it.
The reason I ask is a tertiary concern of ours of a month or two ago, and we haven't started it yet. We're looking for alternatives to the NIOP arm, in part because it's very complex and not super easy to make, and which I think is going to be the case anyway, right? Because of the nature of the beast. And we were going to put out a design challenge to build a transhumeral amputation device, but we need a patient for people to build too. And so that's why I was asking, see what we could, it would be really nice if you were down there already meeting with him, with the NIAFRM, if this patient would be willing to be the person we could design to. And that would be really great. I feel like the community really wants to make something, and the NIAFRM is not super easy to make, and we don't even have the original CAD files, right? So it makes it even harder to do, even if we love the NIAFRM, we don't have the original CAD files. So even I did John and some of you know this, I taught a class at George Washington University. I shouldn't say I helped lead a class at George Washington University over Zoom. And they were building, one of the students actually did build their own upper limb, very, very beginnings prosthetic. It was very cute. And I really liked what they did with the harness. They actually just borrowed a design from GoPro or something for a GoPro harness. It was really neat. And so that's what it's things like that. If we can do a design challenge to a person, the only problem is is it Mexico? Where in Mexico is it?
We're going to be in Cancun.
Cancun.
But at the same time, locally, I showed the arms to one of my cousin's neighbors, and he's running it by his coworker's dad to see if we can do a prosthetic for him. So that's also in the works.
Your coworker's dad is what kind of amputee? Like where?
I think it's below the elbow, if I
Below the
remember what
elbow.
he said correctly. But yeah, that's still in the works to get that done. But still looking around. It does take a while for someone to meet them and also for them to be comfortable with the process. But
Mhm.
we're doing as much outreach as possible to get in touch with more people.
Okay, that's fantastic. See that, but see, Romeo, your chapter is an example of what John just referred to as an anchor chapter, and somebody who's very active and somebody who would actually say, "Hey, do you want to be the anchor for the tri-state area?" Right?
Right.
And it doesn't mean you necessarily need to only produce for Georgia or Mississippi or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You could produce for multiple people, like in Mexico, but it would be people where I could like reliably say, "Hey, you have a problem with that area? Don't talk to us. Talk to Romeo, right? Talk to the Georgia, not even Georgia chapter, the e-NABLE chapter in that location." And they'll hook you up with all the makers in the area, if that makes sense. And that way we don't, that's the other problem with having so many different chapters is you have three chapters in Atlanta alone, right? And only one's
Yeah.
actually doing anything. But wouldn't it be nice if those people, rather than form their own chapter, just said, "Hey, we're going to hook up with Romeo," right?
Yeah,
And,
that would be
Correct.
great because before meeting up with Daniela, I was emailing all these chapters and stuff and not getting anything back at all.
yeah, well, and the truth of the matter is, if you think about it, you have people who they just want to make arms, or they just want to 3D print one arm a month or a year or whatever it is, but they don't necessarily want to administrate anything. They don't want to call people. They don't want to try to find cases. They just want to be a hub. So they're probably thinking, I formed a chapter and somebody's going to, if you build it, they will come. I built this chapter. And so people are going to start swamping into me and like swarming in, and they find out that's not really the case. And they're having to look and like, hey, I just did this to make arms. I didn't do this to advertise or to become a marketing person. Right. And you know what I'm saying? It's a very different thing.
Yeah.
It's a very different skill set. And so in a lot of ways, doing it in a little more centralized fashion protects people from having to be everything.
Yeah.
You can just be like, you have people like Daniela who like to connect, right? They're like talking to her.
She's so awesome at that.
She's like social media, Instagram, Facebook groups, everything, Mexico, and she's like reaching out to everybody, and that's her skill set as well as making limbs, right? And then, but
Yeah.
somebody else's skill set may be more. I just want to do the R&D, man. I don't want to like talk to people. I just want to make a better like kinetic hand. That's just,
Yeah.
can I do that? Can I just be that person? I don't want to be a whole chapter. And that's what I'm saying. By centralizing, you can utilize the genius in other people. You don't have to be a genius at everything. I don't know if that makes
I
sense.
think that's key for the success. Combining both those skills and making sure everyone can contribute in the best way they can.
And you can't do that if you give everybody a chapter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm guessing all of those people who started chapters did it with the intention to do good. Like, why would you do it otherwise?
No question.
Right.
No question.
Right. But I think it's hard to run a charity, as we're all starting to learn. It's hard to run an organization, right? Just being a chapter, what does it mean? What if you get 15 requests in a day, but you're like the one dude?
That's gonna be tough.
And you've got 3 jobs and you're like, oh crap, what did I get myself into? Versus an organization, in theory, if you run it well, then you don't need to worry about the one person if you're busy that week that you can't make and you feel bad. So
yeah.
Okay, Romy, that was really awesome. I remember we're actually meeting with Danielle. You're welcome to come to that meeting too.
Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd
That's
be
great.
great. Oh, that's right. It is tomorrow. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Time is running away from me. Okay, yes.
Thank you for the update, Romeo.
Yeah.
It's
You're welcome,
very
Dad.
exciting what you're doing. I don't think we've met before, so that's great.
Yeah,
I wanted to make sure. Right.
Okay. Go ahead.
I wanted to make sure, Anquan, you are aware of David Ellentuck and the design group that he's working with. Are you not?
You've used his name with me. And it, just like other things in my life, it's probably gone in one ear and out the other. So we probably should get in touch with him.
He's developing. My understanding is he's got a good group, and he himself is an extremely accomplished engineer. And he's developing. He has meetings every Saturday. I've been to only 1 or 2, and they're developing what I would describe as a gripper hand mechanic with a kinetic hand aesthetic, which I think is a sweet spot.
Yeah.
And it, by the way, is what you would want on a an above the elbow device.
Yeah.
You would want, a gripper kind of a thing on there. So
Yeah,
he's
I
a real
agree.
asset, and another person I would urge you to compare notes with.
John, if you wouldn't mind, can you just email me his contact information and a
Yes, of
soft intro
course, of
to myself
course.
and Manlin, and then she and I can set up a meeting to talk. Because right now you have this encyclopedic knowledge of everybody in Enable that I lack. So you've used the name David with me before, but as I
Okay,
said, that's
I'll
probably
send
amongst
you
other
a
things.
note right now.
Yeah,
Great.
that'd be awesome.
Okay.
Okay. Asan, you've been dutifully paying attention. What do you think of all of this?
I'm still waiting here for your reply. For
the
website,
replies? Oh, I
still
see.
I'm waiting for my website. It's June.
Oh, that's right.
After
I
June,
remember now.
after June. Sorry.
After June, that's right. That's right. We have to get
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
on top of that. I'll find you a student. We'll
I will
figure
be
it out.
waiting, sir.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Okay, sir.
Any other thoughts or concerns? Tom, you've done some great work in Africa and apparently the IRS. So I may have to be careful what I say to you. But
I'm retired.
oh, that's what they say. But we'll have to pick your brain some more a little bit about not only our wonderful partnership in Uganda, but some of the other things that we're thinking about. John, you said something earlier, and you and I have talked about it before, as this Manlin, about partnerships with First. One thought
Yes.
I had while we were talking about it, as we're trying to find anchors, and you said that, well, we don't have 50 anchors, which I think is fine, because I don't think we have a need for 50 anchors either.
That's right.
I don't
That's right.
think there's, but then I also would put out there that there is probably a need out there that we're unaware of, because somebody comes to the website and doesn't know how to access it and how to find a hand, and so they give up and leave. Right. Is that possible? Is it possible we do not have the cultural cash that we used to a decade ago, so people don't even think to come to us? So there may be an untapped need.
Yes, I agree.
There may be an untapped need. So that's one. Number two, as we start to look out and see who's active and who's not, and what I mean by that, Sarah, is not who's made one limb a year, but who's like Romeo's level of activity, or our level of activity, or even just like more than one limb a year, right? As we start to look out into the world and we find out, okay, there's nobody we can trust, because in that region, there's just nobody who's doing anything. The question then, is there a first team that we can rely on, like a first robotics team that we can rely on to be a hub or an anchor? And in which case, those people all have email addresses and mentors and 3D printers.
Right.
And can I reach out to them and say, hey, we like what your team has done in the past for other things. We'd like to trial you to see if you can make a few hands. And if you can do this work, if you can show that you have that organizational capacity, because then would you like to be a hub? And we could trial them for 6 months. And the reason I say it that way is the one advantage of something like that. Let's say, for example, like most people are enabled out of their garage, right? That's the way it works. There's no actual institution on the other side. But if you have like an FRC robotics team related to some high school in not Georgia, I'll name another state, Idaho, and they're very good, they do good work, and you give them a few hands, you give them for wrists, that they show they have good organizational capacity, that is a group that I can now reach out to forever, because I know where they live. Right.
Absolutely.
And I just mean like not their house, but their actual organization where it lives. And you can continue, and you say, okay, and then it's easier to reach out to someone in that organization, and they can't really ghost you. Right. So,
and for that matter, they probably show up at the tournaments once a year.
Exactly. And so if you keep seeing these people, and after a while, it'll be easier to say, hey, if you're not doing this work, that's fine. We still love you. You can always come back. But if you're not doing this work, we're going to move on to someone else. It's a little easier to reach a person. Right. And so that's just a thought. I'm not saying we have to do it that way, but if we need an anchor in a tri-state area somewhere, and we don't have one, that might be a way to go.
Right. Well, the other
Manlin,
thing
what do
that
you think?
comes,
Is that a, go ahead.
Manlin?
Go ahead. Manlin, what are your thoughts? Is that kind of pie in the sky, or is that a concept we should just chew on and think about probably?
It's maybe something we could develop down the road, but yeah, there's a reason like university chapters are a thing, right? They're in a solid location. You can go talk to them. Maybe, but again, like university chapters cycle every 4 years, they're not as reliable. So I think that's definitely something that we should consider.
Yeah. I like the idea of university chapters if it's attached to someone somewhat established, like a professor or something like that. And like you said, they cycle for 4 years. So what if I hit a group of students that are amazing, and the next year, 3 years from now, you're now cycling through a group of students who are less amazing, right? They kind of are not into the work. So I do like the idea of university chapters, because being attached to university is always a good thing. The students are technically older, a little bit more mature, maybe. But there is something nice about being attached to a person who's not going to move, or an institution that's not going to move. But yeah, actually, I didn't think of it, but university chapters is also a good idea, because we had, John, didn't we have that group before that you brought onto this like a year ago? I'm trying to remember which university it was. They were doing, you had me talk with them. They were making other assistive tech, and they wanted to get started with e-NABLE. It was a long time ago. You know what I'm talking about.
There have been a number that fit that description.
No, okay, never mind.
But I wouldn't be surprised if you were thinking of Georgia Tech, or possibly the Helping Hands group in the, the North Carolina area. If you have, I've mentioned them to you before. Have you ever looked into them?
Helping Hands, no. We've seen their website. Georgia Tech. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, just, these models are, I can see that you're absorbing them and assimilating them. Helping Hands is a good model. I don't know what university you were asking me about, so I don't have an answer there. I did want to comment that the other thing that comes to mind when you describe this reaching out to FIRST Robotics chapters scenario is that I would imagine that many of them could easily become fabricators. That if you had a recipient and you didn't have a local e-NABLE volunteer, a FIRST Robotics chapter might jump at the chance, if the other pieces of the puzzle were taken care of, if it was already sized and fitted and so on, sized, they could almost certainly fabricate it and would be happy to boast about their contribution. So it could be that you can think of them as a utility bench as well.
Yeah. So instead of an action organization, just as a print farm kind of thing.
Yeah.
With people attached to it. But
yeah.
That's a thought. And same thing would be true for universities. So interesting. Yeah, no, that's a fair point.
The other thing that comes to mind from this conversation is before COVID hit, we had an annual physical get-together, I think for 4 consecutive years. And it played an important role. And we just haven't picked that up since 2020. And I mean, it's a lot of work, and it wasn't always, it was rarely well organized, but it's something you might want to think about. And if you do it, if you develop a relationship with FIRST Robotics, it might be relatively easy to have a satellite-enabled convergence at the location of a FIRST Robotics tournament, just as a way of piggybacking. People don't have to make special trips, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe they're going to be distracted by the competition, but just have in mind that, getting together in person has not been replaced by a computer and a screen.
That's true. And sometimes people get more excited and they get invigorated to do different work or better work or more work.
Well, absolutely. And I have found that being face-to-face with someone often leads to a more sincere commitment. In an online meeting, people say, I'll do this, and they turn off the screen, and I'm among them, and it's gone, totally forgotten. If you've had a face-to-face meeting, you've looked someone in the eye and you said, I'll do this, it lingers.
I think that's definitely a future state thing once we have things better organized. So I think it's definitely a concept that we can think about once we have a little bit of critical mass. But it's a good point. I'd have to pick your brain about what would happen at such a conference. Like, what do people talk about?
Oh, sure.
Uh,
That's not that
that
hard, but we can do that
that would be a.
sometime.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. It's just, we have 1 minute left until the end of the hour. So
Okay.
I wanted to ask about when we wanted to do the next meeting.
Okie
And I
doke.
also have a guest presenter with high school students who wanted to present about what their chapter is doing and learning, working on devices and fundraising. So they are going to present from 12 to 1 on June 25th, but there's no meeting scheduled on that day. Did you want to make that a part of the next chapter leaders meeting next month, or did you want me to ask Vivek if he wanted to host that
Well,
for
are they
bionic design?
bionic relevant?
I mean, I don't think so.
Okay.
That they do make devices, but there
Well,
there has
you
not been a bionic design meeting in quite a while.
Okay.
So
so you want to schedule something in June.
it
You've got June 25th.
Yeah.
Why not let that be the
Okay.
date of our chapters meeting?
Okay. And is it okay to kind of hold off on diving into the evolution of e-NABLE and to have the next chapter leaders meeting be
Oh, I'm sorry.
their
That's a good point.
presentation?
Well, that is a good point.
What is?
I
Can
def-
you tell me again what it is they do? I didn't quite catch. I must have missed when you said it.
It's a chapter working with high school students interested in presenting on their the work that they've done and the fundraising that they're pursuing.
Mm. That's kind of up to you guys.
Well, I
Is the
think it's up to you,
presentation going to take
Anquan.
the full sorry, go ahead.
That was my question also, Madeline. Do you think they need a half an hour and do Anquan, and do they need an hour and do Anquan and Manlin need an hour? Because if not, then we have 2 half-hour
Okay.
segments. Well, it's up to Anquan and Manlin. Do you want
Yeah.
a dedicated session for the next?
Well, it depends
iteration?
on what is. So I guess it depends on what this is for. So if I don't have any objection to hearing high school students, I think I have an objection to listening to for a whole hour. But yeah, if they can shrink it down to 20 minutes, I think that'd be okay. I think, you know, when you're talking about the vision of the future vision of a group, that's probably not a 5-minute discussion, I guess. But and if we all wanted to kind of agree that this is the way we should go, and then the vision is not the timeline either. So the vision is just like what we think it should be,
Right.
and then the timeline itself could be part of the same discussion.
Yeah.
Whether we would need.
I have another thought.
Yeah.
Sarah, why not put them in the education slot?
I can't. The education meeting is on June 18th, so a day that they're not available, and it's already Ian asked for that to specifically be devoted to a different topic. So
Well, okay.
so
Well,
they're
okay,
looking,
so actually, if we're talking about June 25th, I'm going to be on the plane on June
Okay.
25th. So you could have a meeting, and then I probably wouldn't be able to be at that meeting. So that's fine on June 25th. That's what they want to do, and I just will be there. So I'd love to hear the presentation.
Anquan and Manlin, if you want to run your vision past this small group, I would be quite happy to have a separate meeting for that purpose. And maybe you'd rather have that than have it be recorded and broadcast, if you will. So
I think
when
that's
you're
probably
ready,
better. I think that's
Okay.
probably better just to have a separate meeting. I don't
Okay.
think it needs to be broadcast. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So there's your answer, Sarah.
okay.
And Anquan and Madeline, I really appreciate the way you're trying to think this through.
Thank you.
All right, great. Well,
Okay.
thanks everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Yeah, see you tomorrow, Romeo.
And Tom, Jonathan, thank you. And Sarah.
Welcome. Thank you all.